Hello, and welcome to the finale of this season. Thank you for joining me on this journey. My name is Jamichael, and the podcast you're listening to is called Marked by Words, the place where themes and lessons leave a mark on you, just like a tattoo. Today's episode came from a time I had to check on my neighbors who were arguing in a very loud and aggressive manner. I happened to think, what if I didn't come knocking on their door that day? Trigger warning. This story does reference domestic violence. The name of this final episode is Noise Complaint. Boom, boom, boom. The banging from my neighbors sent a shockwave that jolted me straight out of my sleep. They're arguing again. I reached over to my nightstand to grab my phone to check the time. It read 12:44 a.m. Yeah, it's right on schedule. I thought, if those two aren't anything, they're consistent. A few days out of the week, this couple next door tends to get in these long and drawn out arguments. And did I mention they were always loud? Some nights, I managed to sleep through the pandemonium. And on others, I just can't. After about an hour or so of arguing, they quickly transition to the making up part. And they tend to do that loudly as well. Thankfully, it doesn't last nearly as long as the arguing does. But the arguing's just begun. So there's no way that I could dream of going back to sleep. I decided to reach for the remote so that I could watch something on TV. At least that could somewhat help with drowning out the noise, but what do I watch? Are you kidding me? Echoes from next door. I wouldn't be surprised if you could hear them arguing outside the apartment building. Soon after, I chose the first movie I saw. No need for me to get too picky, I thought. Luckily, it was some action movie. It looked like it came from a straight-to-DVD collection, but I wasn't mad at it. Those movies tend to have the most action anyway. Makes it easier to block out all of the noise of arguing with consistent explosions and fight scenes. Within the first 10 minutes of the movie, one of the main characters was jumping out of a helicopter in slow motion. And at the very same time, I heard a loud boom, boom, boom. I turned the TV down a bit so that I could distinguish whether it's the explosion of military vehicles or my neighbors making a fuss. After some brief silence, I heard the thuds once again, boom, 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 followed by the sound of a woman's voice screaming. I sat up in my bed. There's no way that anyone could mistake what's going on as a good time, I thought. And I highly doubt that anyone is enjoying themselves. I decided that I had to get out of bed and maybe get a closer listen, just to confirm whether or not I need to be thinking the worst. As I walked from my bedroom to the front door, it felt like I could hear my neighbors much more clearly.
I am not putting up with this anymore.
Putting up with what? I can't talk to people?
As I opened my apartment door and stepped out in the hallway, I see the door of my neighbors across from me get slammed. And I decided to follow suit and jump straight into my bed. If it carries on any longer, maybe I could then check on them, I thought. Or even call the police. I turned over, grabbed my headphones, and put on some music. listening to one of my favorite albums will do, I thought. By the time it's over, so will the nonsense from my neighbors. In one swift motion, as soon as I threw my covers over my body, my eyes finally found rest. But a big, heavy knock on my front door caused me to sit up as fast as The Undertaker on pay-per-view. My music was no longer playing. I checked the time and it was 4:51 a.m. I opened the door and saw a pair of officers, one at my door, the other at my neighbor's across the hallway. They mentioned being initially called about a noise complaint, but as they reported to the scene, they noticed the unit's front door was left ajar. When the officers entered the premises, they saw both tenants dead. A double homicide. The officers continued speaking, but everything went silent. I couldn't hear a thing. I was lost in my own thought of pain and regret. The fact that I could have done or said something sooner. Hell, I could have just called the police about a noise complaint as soon as everything began. And as I looked across the hallway, I saw my neighbor looking right back at me. I could see that they were thinking the very same thing that I was. Man, thank you for listening to today's episode. I know it ended on a more somber note, but I appreciate you for sticking it out with me. If you enjoyed the work, tell a friend to tell a friend to listen in. You can also stay up to date on the latest episodes by subscribing on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. The Marked by Words podcast is brought to you by me, Jamichael Prude, and hopes to bring forth creativity through storytelling and conversations highlighting a myriad of subjects. I know this is the end of one journey, but I do plan on coming back soon for season 2. How soon? Well, I guess that's up to you. Thank you for listening. Till next time, beautiful people.